there, or attempts at brilliance, or just good guesses. Yes?
I don't really think it could be in the subjunctive in any sense, because be still on its own is an independent clause, and that already is imperative. And know that I am doesn't have any changing, that like any formulaic changing of the verb tenses. So it's know and am, which are both present, and be is also present, so I don't see anything that would indicate the subjunctive.
I think that can be a very correct reading of that statement. Is it possible for there to be a different correct reading of that statement? I heard it going on over here, and I was excited. I'm like, yay, they got it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Woo.
alright, well, I said that, it can be a subjunctive because it's sort of like a suggestive thing. It's like, okay, so it says be still and know that I can. It's sort of like you're reassuring that person, you're suggesting that they believe in you, and believe that you can do whatever.
Yes. And maybe there's this idea of if you could be still. I would wish for you to be still. Follow it all? Anyone get a sense of that? It's a tiny bit there if you want to read it that way. The subjunctive is interesting. Come back to this one here. The crowd cheered for Caesar as if he was a king.
I think it's subjunctive because he was not a king, he was a dictator.
Yeah, it's a
So what verb do you propose in place?
Word.
It's not impossible, but is it contrary to fact? He's not a king. So you have to go with the subjunctive. If you had the impulse that were sounded better, you were correct. So when it comes to the subjunctive, trust your instincts first and foremost. And then keep these things in mind. You're not expected to be experts in the subjunctive. Okay? May you be. You know, if this word said may you be still, then it would be clear subjunctive. And the question is can you kind of interpret that may you be could be in that statement? And that's where it gets really tricky. Yes?
Can you give an example of like a formal motion or resolution?
Be it resolved.
Okay.
Be it resolved. From this point henceforth, we shall be, okay, be it. Let it. And again, do you hear the almost vibrational quality in the use of that word be right there? Be it resolved. Let it vibrate out around us and be true. That's the subjunctive. It's wishful and commanding at the same time. It creates, this is why we call it a mood. A mood. And it might be a little tiny bit contrary to fact. It hasn't been this way, but from this moment forward. You're frowning a little bit. Are you understanding or not following?
Kind of
Yeah. Yeah. This is why, have any of you been taught subjunctive in English before? In English?
No.
We all hate it because it's so right? Right? Yeah. So Shakespeare, let's turn now to Shakespeare. Shakespeare uses the subjunctive all the time. And I'm going to propose to you that some of the hardest lines in Shakespeare for you have been the ones where he's been using the subjunctive. Because it's slowly phased out of our language. It's been slowly phased out. And in fact, we see people speaking, I've been told sometimes in Spanish that I could get away without the subjunctive. It's not correct, but that people casually do that. That probably came to pass in English as well as we moved away from a number of the forms. So the sheet that I gave you, this handout here, has no heading on it, but it does right there begin with number 25, subjunctive mood. Everyone take a look at that. I think it's probably about